So today we're going to talk about a Valorant round that went viral for how cool and creative it was. So here it is.
Der Verlierer oder das Verliererteam verliert ein weiteres Leben, nachdem ja beide Teams letzte Woche schon verloren haben.
And so there it was, right? A super cool idea to come and get your Omen up into here. And so the various moving parts of this are obviously the first part is the shock dart here that we see, you know, the little lineup going up there. But then there are other parts of this as well, right? One is the Viper Wall, which cuts across here and cuts across mid and keeps these guys, you know, hopefully back here. But then, you know, just in case, we also send an Omen flash down here. And then obviously we come down and we TP up. And obviously the goal here, once we get there, is, you know, the Omen's going to end up here, you know, in this kind of part of halls just here, and is going to end up basically as the guardian of the A site. Now, also, I like this. They send in a little recon dart into A main here. This doesn't scan anyone, so this Sova then feels like, okay, Omen, now it's your kind of job here. I can then rotate, and so now we just have very good control of kind of this part of the map, and your Sova can just rotate, right? So it's really cool idea. I think actually the ideal might be a kind of a 5-stack rush, right? If you did this when they were just like fully rushing A, you know, your Omen ends up here and can just quickly backstab them. I mean, that would probably be like the absolute ideal of this kind of setup. But there are some problems. The first of these problems is really just what happens in the actual round.
Matrix portet jetzt da tatsächlich hoch. Hat damit ein sehr interessantes Positioning drin. Und das ist John. Also, ich weiß nicht. Das ist John Entries ist halt auch einfach was anderes. Also, der Mann, der ist auf unsere Welt gekommen, um uns zu zeigen, wie man...
So as we saw there, it didn't really find much value and we had to just Omen ult away. And the thing is, I actually quite like this little detail, right? This is probably the kind of play that you really... I would say you only really want to run this play, you know, with an Omen ult in there. Because obviously, if your Omen does get spotted for whatever reason, right, in here, you know... you can't really escape, right, as this Omen. If you do get spotted, you can't come this way because that's probably where your opponents are, and coming out the little shoot here out into like the attacker's side of mid probably isn't going to go great for you either. So this is the kind of play you probably only really want to run if you have an Omen ult, you know, allowing you to actually escape from this. So that's like, at least they did it when they had an Omen ult, right? But the thing is as well, the problem is, and you're going to see this if we just run it forward on the map here, when we go for this play, right, to me, the problem is obviously the shoot door makes a noise when it opens, right? So this here, this makes a noise, and the Omen TP makes a noise, right? And the noise comes from where the Omen is, right? So the noise comes from here of this Omen has just teleported from this location, and the door has made a noise. And if you're close enough, you know, probably somewhere here in the mid like this KO is, you're probably going to hear both of those noises. And the thing is, this KO's position is very likely to be where a lot of people will be, right? You've got this Viper Wall going up here. You've been, you know, potentially hit with an Omen flash, or, you know, you've avoided an Omen flash that you've seen come from there. So you're expecting some kind of aggression here if you're this KO or anyone else, right? So it's likely that you're going to back up into these kind of areas where you can then hear this, right? And so what happens actually in this round is you're going to see after the Omen TPs here, straight away, the other team is going to ping it, right? Look, we ping this straight away. And especially after we drone and kind of cleared that, you know, the Omen isn't somewhere close, like, it becomes pretty obvious that this is where the Omen is. And so this is why you need this ult, because, you know, you can kind of tell that that's where the Omen is going to be. And so for me, this is committing like quite a lot of resources, right, into something that I think can be figured out. Not that this is a completely useless play, but, you know, just that we're committing a Viper Wall. We're committing, you know, our Omen TP here and our Omen Flash down here. We're committing a Shock Dart to all of this, right? To a play that I think a lot of the time, you know, if people are switched on, you know, they will know that you are probably there just from the sound cues alone. And of course, now that everyone has seen this play, now you can't run this play, right? In fact, as soon as you see this Viper Wall and you're playing against an Omen comp, already you're like alarm bells are going to be ringing because so many people have seen this play now that, you know, you kind of can't do this because it becomes kind of almost too obvious, right? So that's a problem as well. And someone on Twitter pointed out that this play might not even be legal either, right? Because this lineup that the Sova does, and I don't know the answer to this question whether this is legal or not, but look at where this Sova is aiming. This shock dart goes through this. Now, I don't know if it's meant to go through this or not. It kind of looks like it shouldn't. I don't know if this is legal or not, but if this is like just one of those things where, oh, you can get a shock dart through there, but you're not meant to, right? In pro play, that probably means that this shock dart wouldn't be allowed, right? Which wouldn't actually kill the play, because you could probably learn a different Sova lineup. But just, for the one they actually did, I'm not even sure if it's actually even legal to do what they did. And so then the last thing I wanted to go and look at was, did they use this Viper Wall in any other round, right? Because you don't want to just be using it for this one play and kind of making it obvious that, hey, we're going to do this kind of play here. We got this Viper Wall, it's for this play, right? That if the opponents could ever figure it out, you don't want to be too obvious with it. So I went back and checked, did they use it in any other rounds? And they did. They used it in the second round, where after they lost the pistol, and, didn't really use it in that round, but hey, they used it, which I kind of like as kind of, this is a second round, we're not likely to win, use it as a setup for later on. But then they used it in this round as well, and you're not going to believe what they did.
Sonst mit 18:7 gerade auf dem Scoreboard. Und diese einzelnen Plays muss Ovation irgendwie unterbinden. Natürlich ist eine Aggression immer eine Idee.
And so yes, they tried it before. This was a couple rounds before they actually did it, but just failed to hit the Omen TP, which I found pretty funny, and perhaps made it more obvious for the other team, obviously, when they then did do it a couple rounds later, because they'd already kind of seen part of it. But the thing is, if we come here, like, just before the round starts, in fact, the other team has actually already pinged this out. Now, we're not in the comms, so I don't know whether this is them figuring out just based off this Viper Wall. That seems like incredible if they did. Or whether it's just this Cypher is just saying, like, I'm going to go to A main, because he also pings A main here, right? And then, I'll come back up here. That's probably more likely, but it does bring up the point as well that if someone, for whatever reason, does do what this Cypher is about to do, right? Like, where you end up here, you can probably beat that Omen here, right, as the attackers from where the barrier starts. It's very unlikely that people would do this, but I have seen some teams do it, right? EDG sometimes do this when they go for a Gecko ult from here, right, and send it through this way, just to make sure that their Gecko is safe when going for that ult. So if that kind of play did happen, this Omen probably is just dead, right, which isn't great either. And so there it was, a really cool creative play. Sure, it has some problems, but at this point, I'm very happy to accept anything outside the box, anything different. When so many of these pro Valorant teams are just running the same comps and running the same ideas and just copy whatever the top teams at the game are doing, I'm all for doing anything different, coming up with some ideas, right? Especially very like out of the box like this one, right? Kind of a cool idea. Yes, it has, some problems and whatever. I would love to see now a team as well run that same Viper Wall, run that same Omen Flash, even the same Shock Dart, but then, you do something different, right? You aggress somewhere else on the map, right? You start pushing out of Elbow, or you start pushing out of A main, right? To try and, like, exploit that, oh, guys, there's going to be someone in holes. They think someone's in holes the entire round, and you punish them elsewhere for thinking that, right? I think that would be a really kind of cool idea to kind of branch off of. But of course, the actual play itself of getting Omen into holes now probably will never be seen again, because everyone's seen it at this point. And so, it's one of those things. Unlucky, I guess. And unfortunately, it didn't find the value that it would have been really cool if it did.